Okay, rapid fire review. Basically speaking, I played Resident Evil Village, I liked it, and I want to talk about it. But I'm a D&D channel, so here's every level and character in Resident Evil Village, but I'm using a d20 as my rating system. So unlike the normal 1 to 10 scale most people use, we're going from 1 to 20, with nat 1s being the worst, nat 20s being the best, and 10s are average. Also, all of the footage I'm using here is from the super funny supercut we have over on the gaming channel, TheLoadingCrew. Watch the highlights from the stream over there for funny clips like this. Oh! Oh! Oh no! Oh! Go watch that after you're done here. Alright, now let's do this. We're gonna make it quick, fun, and spoiler-tastic. You have been warned. 3, 2, 1, go. The intro is nothing more than a glorified tone setter, with Father Ethan Winters putting his baby to bed and then doing some weird foreshadowing for the ending. Chris Redfield shows up, kills his wife, and kidnaps his baby. The fact that Chris never tells Ethan what's really going on is really dumb, because this drives the entire story forward. The game cannot exist without this confusing dumb nonsense. 8 out of 20. After the introduction, we are led into the village in the country of Europe. And despite the excellent tone setter with the props and assets being moved around subtly by various monsters, the intro is really, really bad. The game expects you to run around like a chicken with your head cut off until a certain timer is reached where it arbitrarily sets your new location and it flags a scripted event. And then you are led into more bad scripted events with the other villagers. Bad tutorial, 8 out of 20. Once we get into the castle, we are introduced to all 4 bosses at once. I really like this scene because we get a glimpse of all the main bosses' personalities, goals, and motivation, as well as a quick glance at their powers. It's really fast, and it leads into an escape sequence that I died on because the meat grinder thing was a little unclear. I didn't like it, but it actually was not bad. 12 out of 20. Castle D is where the game starts to get fun. We are introduced to Lady Demami Dimmadome Dimmanam Dimami Demami Mommy and her 3 crazy hot daughters. I know the AI is dumb, but I chose not to exploit their bad pathing and treated them like the threat they were trying to be, leading to the funniest line I've spoken in any live stream. This is not the mommy-daughter tag team I would like! This level was classic gothic horror fun and served as a much better tutorial than the village. The game actually starts here, 15 out of 20. After Castle D, we are led into the level I just call the Dollhouse. The game ceases to be Resident Evil, and instead we are now playing Silent Hill PT, the escape room. Anyway, the Dollhouse is genuinely terrifying at places and just really, really spoopy. The boss does end up being a kind of lame hide-and-seek minigame, but it doesn't really take away from anything. Great level, 19 out of 20. The Reservoir is your standard horror level water level, and that's not the insult it probably sounds like it is, because it does a really good job of keeping itself fresh. You start off in a mine that transitions into a river, and then a lake where you do various pseudo-platforming in order to avoid the boss of the area. The area is big, and it doesn't have you constantly in a gross polluted lake, and instead gives you lots of different puzzles, monsters, and of course gives you a unique experience and a relationship with the area's boss, which help keep the area pretty fresh and good overall. I did not enjoy the boss fight with Moreau because he has this really obnoxious acid rain attack, and I felt like he was too much of a bullet sponge. 14 out of 20 for the level, 12 out of 20 for the boss fight. After you kill Moreau, you are contacted by the best character in the game and led into the Stronghold, which absolutely sucks. The Stronghold is really, really bad because what the game wants you to do is run around the level as if you were Doom Guy and grab ammunition and use explosive barrels as this agent of death and chaos that should be able to take out the Lycan easily. What actually happens is that most players will try to kite the monsters into a few funneling places where you can handle them more effectively. Rather than using the excellent philosophy of the interesting boss monsters, they instead throw a bunch of disposable and uninteresting clones at you, which inevitably waste your resources and time. The Lycan take too many bullets to kill, and they are no longer fun, and the game either forces you to play lame or play in a panic. The final boss of the area is admittedly pretty good though. 6 out of 20 for the level, 12 out of 20 for the boss fight. After fighting this guy, you run into the actual best waifu of the game, Heisenberg. Heisenberg is fun and hilarious. Nothing he says sounds right, and he always has this goofy delivery on all of his lines. Shut your fucking hole! This guy is basically Hugh Jackman's Van Helsing with Magneto powers, but with the personality and disposition of Nick Cage's Ghost Rider. If you told me this guy eats wine glasses full of jelly beans while watching monkeys punch people in the dick, I would absolutely believe you. His level is a Frankenstein factory that almost goes on too long. It keeps itself fresh, however, by throwing multiple mini-bosses at you and keeps the common mobs to a minimum, which I feel is a very good thing in this particular game. The bosses are great, the mobs are annoying. The factory is a little confusing, but if you're paying attention to the map, you should have no problem getting through it. This does culminate into my favorite moment in the game though, because once you are caught by Heisenberg, you are then thrown into a pit where you meet Chris Redfield, and you get a bunch of exposition and plot twists, and then you are given a makeshift tank powered by gaming bullshit, where you then fight Heisenberg, who turned himself into a mech. I absolutely could not stop laughing and having an absolute blast in this fight. This is the best fight in the game. 18 out of 20 level, nat 20 boss fight. After the Heisenberg fight, Ethan is, killed by Mother Miranda, the final boss we've heard so much about. I feel this boss is less interesting and impressive than the other bosses, mostly because we only know her through reputation, rather than an actual connection between Ethan and Miranda herself, aside from the fact that she arranged your baby's kidnapping. This is by design and it does create a good figure, but she doesn't really come off as godlike to me, like the game was trying to hint at. Anyway, she rips out Ethan's heart and we begin a new section where we play as Chris. This section was okay. Chris has all the cool toys, including stronger guns, tons of ammo, and what I can only assume is the laser cannon that Cecil shot Omni-Man with. This section is pretty good, even if we have to deal with a million goddamn Lycan mobs again. 15 out of 20. After completing Chris's section, you encounter the same lore cave that pretty much existed in RE7 Biohazard, where they science-explain all the magic powers we've seen so far, and Chris finds Mia, who explains that Ethan is just gosh darn lickety special, which leads to honestly, a nat 20 endgame. It is revealed in a dream sequence by Evelyn, the final boss of the last game, that Ethan is in fact a moldy mushroom man, and he's been able to survive all the bullshit he's been through, and he's capable of reattaching limbs like a Lego man because he actually died and was brought back to life in the last game. He is helped out one last time by our bro the Duke, where we managed to do a slow walk to Miranda, and then we have a really good boss fight that reminds me of the Mega Man Juno fight from Mega Man Legends. Eventually, Ethan's body gives out and he rescues his daughter. He then gives her to Chris and then sacrifices himself. Absolutely no complaints about this section. Nat 20 scene. We end the game with Rose all grown up after the credits as a super-powered psychic mushroom human, and its sequel baits into Resident Evil 9. Or the DLC. All in all, great game. The end game is especially good and fairly touching, actually. Each level is only a few hours long and it rarely overstays its welcome. I managed to complete the whole game while getting nearly every treasure and all the extra stuff in just over 11 hours. I say this was $60 well spent. Overall, 18 out of 20, and I look forward to Resident Evil 19. And I look forward to Resident Evil 9. Or the DLC. And if you want to see a compilation of the best moments, head on over to our gaming channel, TheLoadingCrew, and if you want to see me play and rate more games, follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheLoadingCrew.